Now I'm going to text you the link.
Okay. Great. Do you need water, Donna?
No, no.
Okay. If you do, you can have some of that.
So, Vicky,
Yeah.
today is like a very, very horrible, like sad day for me.
Really? I'm so sorry.
Today is actually the day that I was incarcerated,
Really?
and it's like one of the days that my close friend was killed. It's all in like one day. So
Really?
it's like,
I'm so
Oh
sorry
my
for
God.
you, Sean.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sending you virtual hugs and love.
Me too.
And I know that it's traumatic. You're suffering from
Of
PTSD.
course.
Anytime you just need to step back, trust and believe, I totally understand.
Well, of course it is trauma, and of course it's just more than a person can stand. In fact, just
It's
yeah,
something that
just
you'll remember.
take it easy on yourself, and
Yeah.
I'm just glad that you're willing to try and do the show today because actually, I mean, you can talk about, I mean, talk about in whatever way
It's
you want
healing
to
for
or not.
you,
Yeah,
David. And if you don't want to, you don't have to.
right.
We've got, so many great things that you've done and that you're still doing that you can talk about. There's one thing I never really asked, what did somebody do to get incarcerated? To me, it's not, important to me. I want to get to know the person for who they are right now, standing in front of me. And I can honestly say that when I met you on the 16th, I really fell in love with you and your spirit and everything. So
Yes,
you
yes,
do what you
yes.
need to do, young
So,
man.
so anyway, and so I think if so, you're still good to do the show, right? Because
of course,
okay, because it's already live streaming. So now
Okay,
this is
you're
the
all shared up,
pre-show.
right?
Yeah, I just shared it. So we're on Instagram,
Okay.
and Richard will have already put it on the YouTube channel, which
Yep.
I had given you the link before, and I guess that's as much as it'll be. And then it'll be permanently on our YouTube channel, and then we'll also send it to the radio show, and they'll air it on Monday. But we can start the show. I think we can start whenever, if everyone's ready, we can start anytime now.
Okay, I'm going to reset the timer.
Okay, so are you ready, Sean?
yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, okay.
Here
Well,
we go.
we'll just bear it in mind. And
You are on the air.
welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being recorded here at Think Twice Radio in the home of the future, also the home of our friend and producer, Richard Wicca. Thank you, Richard. And I also want to give shout out to our wonderful friends at WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station, 91.3 FM, coming out of Buffalo State University. So we thank everyone, including especially Greg Harvey and Brian Harrell, his assistant at WBNY. So when I think of thankfulness, I think about our indigenous and black and people of color friends who, and really any wise people. So no matter what kind of hardships and trauma, oppression, and everything that people have suffered, that they still maintain that feeling of thankfulness. I know for the Haudenosaunee, we are on stolen Haudenosaunee land right now, here in Buffalo anyway, on land of the Seneca or Onondaga people, and that despite everything, despite their land being taken through violence and lies, they still start every event with a thankfulness, with a Ganonyo, which they thank all the people that made the event possible, and then they thank Mother Earth for giving us everything we need for a good life here on Earth, and the living waters that are vital for our very existence. Water is life. For the wonderful plants and animals, and then they will really list many, many of the plants and the animals that are so wonderful. There are so many, although we're going through a period, they call it the sixth extinction. So we treasure the ones that we have, and we hope not to lose any more. And we thank so many teachers and leaders that have helped us in different ways, and of course the Creator and the love that animates all of that. And then the people say, the leader says Yahweh, and the people say Nyo. So Yahweh,
No.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. And it's just like Ashe too. You know, it's that thankfulness and that may it be as it's meant to be. So we have we'll have a very serious. We have very serious problems going on in this country right now, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. There is crises all around us, and yet. So I am thankful, though. I'm thankful for the people who are on the show today. Today, I actually have. Our show is Due Process in Chains. And so first we have Sean M. Chung. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So thank you, Sean. Thank you for all the work you've done, and thank you for coming on the show today with so much going on. Sean has written a wonderful book, Due Process in Chains, a self-help journal for protecting your rights in the criminal justice system. And for those of you who are watching this on live stream, you can see me holding up the book. You can get it on Amazon, and we're working on making it available at Burning Books. But there's so much in here, and there's so much wisdom and compassion and just integrity and honesty that we have, that we see in you, Sean. You've helped so many people so much, and you've been through so very much. So we're grateful to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And then next but not least, Donna Robinson, friend of the show, Donna Robinson. We're so grateful for you too, Donna, for coming on the show, for all your wonderful work and passion and compassion for so many, and your activism and organizing to try and get the changes that we need to care for people on the planet, and people and the planet come first, not money, not the, so your loving heart, we're so glad that you're on the show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it. And, being asked to come and speak about the carceral system as it is in New York State.
Oh.
And I'm especially pleased to be a guest tonight with Mr. Sean M. Chung.
Well, I knew you were, and that is why I picked you to be on the show with him. So we had hoped, and some of you might have seen, that we did expect that Robert Brooks Jr. might be able to join us. Robert Brooks Sr., as many of you already know, and we've certainly talked about it a lot on this show, was murdered, by corrections officers, beaten to death right on camera. It was all on video, and So Robert Jr. has gone through a lot, and he's a musical artist. He was going to share some of his music, and we'll hope that that might happen at another time. But in the meanwhile, we're so grateful that you're on with us, Sean and Donna, and so we'll have a good show. It is a blessed day because we're together. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the way we like to start off the show, because we want to be in a positive mode, no matter how negative and horrific the things that we might have to talk about, because they need to be exposed to be changed, and understood to be changed. So we like to start off with thinking of our values. So when we think about due process in chains, a self-help guide to protecting your rights in the criminal justice system. When we think about due process in chains and think about the carceral system, what are the values that we think of that are important in this topic? So I'm going to go to Donna first and then to you, Sean. So
Thank you.
Donna.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind is to be educated. You know, this is no secret. I've talked about it before. My daughter's incarcerated at
Right.
Bedford Hills. She's been there for 10 years. Though I was no stranger to incarceration, having been raised by my grandmother and having an uncle I grew up with as a heroin addict. When my daughter became incarcerated, it seemed like I didn't know what to do, what steps to take, what were her rights, what were my rights. So I was enthralled with the book. When I met Sean and he told me he wrote the book, I
Really?
ordered it
Uh-huh.
in the car on the
Really?
way from
Oh,
Albany.
really?
I ordered it, and when it came, I was elated because most of the times, if you open the book up, Vicki,
Yes.
you can see the print is large for people like myself who are older and whose vision might not be 20/20 anymore. So thank you so much, Sean. I don't know if you were instrumental in making sure that they made the print large, but that to me was a great lagniappe when I got the book.
Well,
Thank you.
actually,
Appreciate
I'm
that.
going to say your eyes must be better than mine because I don't think it's all that large. Anyway,
Vicki, I
But
drive
you-
with a magnifying glass. Trust
I
me,
need
that's
to.
large.
I need to. But anyway, but so the values that you think of. So what do you think
Education.
of with the education? So
Education. We've
and-
got to be educated about our rights.
Right.
When the red and blue lights come on and you're being pulled over,
Right.
your mind
Right.
is all over the place because of what
Oh,
you've
sure.
seen in the media. You don't know what to do.
Right.
So this is a great guide,
Right.
and I would
Right,
recommend
right.
it.
Oh well, I'm hoping to get it without getting it from Amazon.
Well,
but I will
however
get
you
it one
get
way
it.
or another. I'm getting it. If I have to bite the bullet or somehow, just go ahead and get it from Amazon, I'll do it. So anyway, and so Sean, when you
Yes.
think about due process in chains and the things that you're writing about in that book, what are the values that you think of as being important?
So the first thing I want to do is thank you and Donna for actually taking the time out to hear me out and invite me on your show. I used to listen to some of your shows while I was incarcerated. Surprisingly, it reached the ears of mine while I was in Attica. So I definitely appreciate this. It's like a dream for me. So I definitely appreciate that.
I have to say, when you told me that, I mean, that really thrills my heart. But anyway, so please.
So
ahead.
another thing, as far as the book, I was thinking about myself as a youth and all the other people that were in adolescent with me when I was on Rikers Island and when I first went upstate to prison. I didn't have the knowledge or the education that people that had spent 20, 30 years in prison that had that kind of knowledge. I didn't have that knowledge. And even those people that had that knowledge still didn't have the exact knowledge to fill in the pieces to the puzzle to help me fight for my rights. So as Donna was saying, education is key.
Right.
And for me, it was transparency and accountability. When I got wrongfully confined, or the natures of the crimes that I was charged with allegedly, I didn't have that transparency. When I went to law library and I wanted to speak to the clerks, they didn't have that knowledge to fill in the blanks and to bring clarity.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have
Wow.
that intelligence. This wasn't taught in schools. And this is something that is never going to be taught in schools because they don't have the funding for that, or majority of the people in these red zones don't have that knowledge being fed to them in these schools. They're not learning civics. They're not learning law. They're not learning criminal justice. They're basically learning the bare minimum. So I said, you know what? When I'm creating this book, I'm going to make sure that every single detail from start to finish, whether it's the arrest or you're fighting a tier hearing or administrative hearing or a civil claim, you have that knowledge in the palm of your hands, and a lawyer can't take that from you. A lawyer can't give you the runaround and lead you astray and take your money from you and then leave you like they did to me.
Yes.
I know how it feels
Oh,
to be a
really?
teenager
Oh,
and
boy.
have a lawyer drain your pockets for everything and then basically leave you out to dry in the desert. And then you basically get picked apart by the vultures and then get handed a legal aid that works with the criminal justice system
Exactly.
against you. And
Oh, no.
to be a young African American without that knowledge is basically suicide. So
Facts.
I make sure it was affordable for everybody.
Wow. Well, I want to say that what I think of when I think of values, I'm going to pick my usual too, because they're so needed in almost every conversation of this kind, that truth and love. So Reverend Dr. King said, unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. Now, the truth is that, and which is not actually, it's very similar to what you're both saying about education, about that knowledge that's needed. So the knowledge of the truth of the matter. So the truth that the system is racist, that there's all kinds of injustices going on in the criminal injustice system, that is a very criminal system, because people do not get a fair shake, and it's certainly very people want to say racial disparities. They don't want to say racism. I want to say racism. It's racist. You know, there's racist things going on. People, you know, of color do not get treated the same as white people more often than not. And it doesn't mean, it's certainly true that white people, our rights and abilities to make sure that we're treated fairly is also going down the drain. We see that happening too. That doesn't make it any less criminal what has been done and continues to be done to people of color, indigenous, black, and people of color getting, you know, and especially black people in the criminal justice system. But I mean, or all, you know, and people without as many resources. So there's a huge element of that in there, where you you have the lawyers, big money for lawyers. So if you get a court-appointed lawyer, get a they won't have time to do right by you, even if they want to, which they may or may not care. So back to, because that is the other part of truth and love. So because we love each other, because we need to love each other, that's why we need to care, and why we need to do, and why we are doing what we're doing, trying to make sure that people do not suffer the way they've been suffering, to change that up. And in the midst of the chaos and horror that's going on in so many levels right now, I only hope and pray that truth and love is going to prevail, and that crisis equal to opportunity is going to give us the opportunity to make things better than they've ever been before. Right now, while they seem to be going to be worse than they've ever been, or at least as bad. I mean, there have been some very bad things in the past too, but anyway, so those are some values. So anyway, I'm so thrilled to have you on the show. So let us just go. And actually, Donna, since you have read the book, why don't we start with you? Of what are the biggest things that you got out of the book?
It was his attention to detail. As I said, when you first get the phone call that someone you love has been arrested, you don't know the steps that you need to take. I didn't, even though, my uncle had been incarcerated, my brothers, my sons. With my daughter, this was different because first of all, I couldn't wrap my head around women being incarcerated.
Right.
But the harsh reality of it was that, it had made its way right into my house and sat down on the side of my bed.
Oh, no.
And I was looking at it and I didn't know what to do with it. So I, if I had my way, this would be a part of the school curriculum. But like he said, that would defeat the school to prison pipeline. We know
Right.
that prison is a money-making industry. So if we stop them from going to prison by enlightening them of their rights, et cetera, well, then, that the whole carceral system begins to crumble. But
From your lips to God's ears.
well,
Yeah.
he did not leave no stone unturned. And I appreciate that because we get calls all the time. We advocates and activists for people who are incarcerated. People don't know what to do, just like I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And they call and, well, I don't know what to do. Well, the first thing, if you're in Buffalo, if they've been arrested today, you be in court in the morning.
Right.
And you should have this knowledge or someone with this knowledge to stand in the gap for you. Because if not, and I always say, especially here in Erie County, I spell it with 2 E's. It's scary up here.
Yeah.
All roads from the holding center lead to one of these prisons, one of the 41 prisons in New York State. So if we can avert some of that traffic or even stop it by arming ourselves with, this is a Bible. This is armor. Put our armor on and our weapons.
Right.
I've got a great granddaughter that's 8 years old, and when she was 5, started to teach her the human rights, her rights, a Bill of Rights. So it's funny to hear somebody saying at 5 years old, "I have the right to bear arms."
Really?
And I'm trying, and I'm telling her, but put sunscreen on, trying, but everybody from the cradle to the grave, you need this.
Right.
The behind you save might be your own, because
Right.
those public pretenders.
And your beloveds ones.
Yes.
So Sean, tell us. So why don't you start telling us a little bit of what Donna's talking about what people should be doing, what is our way to break free of those chains in due process to actually have our rights respected.
So, in majority of the neighborhoods that were labeled red zones,
Right.
and in the book I talk about that too. So a lot of the communities that are lower income, that have the liquor stores, that have the rundown apartments, that have the Section 8s,
Right.
that are overcrowded with police and riddled with crime, and people that are not getting the wages that they deserve, or with the schools that have the lowest forms of education and lowest ratings and the worst teachers.
Right.
This book is basically educating you on protecting yourself from the beginning. Once you live in these neighborhoods, you're already targeted, right?
Right.
And then you
Overpoliced.
and then you get arrested now. And since you're low income, the state makes $10,000 to house each person through federal grants and budgets and stuff like that. And it's actually cheaper to just fix these schools and make these low income neighborhoods higher income paid neighborhoods and more safer and less policed and more activism going inside there and more social
Yes.
workers and getting help they need
Yes.
to remove drugs and stuff like that. Right?
Yes.
And then when you're arrested, since you don't know your rights, you basically are speaking to the police against your constitutional right to remain silent. And then they use this against you to basically label you so other people can target you, because now your name will appear in documentation paperwork. You basically labeled what's called an informant or a snitch or a rat. So now you're going to have a tough time going to Rikers Island. So now it's already pinning you against everybody else. You're going in there, you're not only a minority, now you're what's called informant. So now you already started off your bid horrible. So your chances of survival is slim. And then you're fighting, you're getting charged a ticket every time you fight. And then you get a lawyer that's supposed to represent you for a crime that you probably um didn't commit, and if you did
Right.
commit, it's not what they're charging you with. They probably
Right. Right.
overcharged you, knowing
Right.
that you're going to
Right.
be
Right.
scared, and they're going to use the
Right.
incriminating evidence against you and your statements against you. So they tell you take a plea deal. Now the plea deal basically bars a strong majority of your rights. I would say almost 85% of your rights, and you're only left with a new trial or ineffective assistance of counsel. And those are the two hardest things to get in the criminal justice system. So now you take this plea deal, all your rights are diminished, and now you're in prison. They promise you this deal that if you take a 3 to 5 or a 1 to 3 or a 7 to 10, you'll come home early, not telling you that you have to take these mandatory programs that come attached to that, right? And when it
Right.
comes time for you to get into these programs, there's a huge waiting list, right? And then
Right.
when you get these programs completed, it's also not telling you that these programs are not guaranteed to help you get your freedom. So now you have to learn correctional law, you have to learn administrative law, and the appeals are also housed in the same facility that you're in. So if
Right.
you're a person that they just don't like, they'll just tell them don't release you, and you're going to be seen amongst people that work within the facility. So they will just deny you. And if you appeal them and you grieve them, then the same officers will probably beat you up because you're basically appealing and grieving to their family members. And if you grieve that, the OSI investigation process are their family members as well. So it's like you're just crying to their cousins, and their cousins is going to call them and say, hey, this guy's talking bad about you, and you're going to get beat up again. And then when you appeal that, you're going up to Albany with people that are against criminal justice reform, that are their bosses, that send messages back down to them, and you're going to get beat up again. So these are the things that a lot of people don't even know about. And then when
Right.
you're going up against misbehavior reports, tier hearings, it's the same thing as going into a courtroom, just without a lawyer. It's in prison. And then it's administrative hearings that are held and housed by the same people that work within the prisons as well. So it's all just it's a joke.
It's a
And
racket.
if you don't exactly.
Yeah.
So if you don't know
Yeah.
these motions, if you don't know these rules, if you don't know these laws, then you're basically running around with your head chopped off and just having somebody guide you back into the same hole that you came out of. And then now you're labeled a felon and you come
Right.
home, you don't have
Right.
any education, you have a felony, you don't have any money saved up,
No.
you don't have any credentials. So now you're going to be on parole, and you have a parole officer that's looking at you like you're the scum of the earth because you have no credentials, you have no title, you have no education. And then the jobs are going to say, well, you have no title, you have no education, you have a felony. So they're going to give you the most bare minimum wage that they could possibly think of, below minimum wage, below standards. And the money that you were making in prison was pennies a
Right.
day.
Oh, that's another.
So
Yep. Mm-hmm.
you're automatically going to be institutionalized, and you're automatically going to be looked at as a criminal. So the bare minimum jobs are not going to be able to help you feed your family, provide for yourself. And the most that they're going to
Your
probably do is try to
your
send you to
voice
a
has
shelter.
gotten very. Is there some? Did you move the phone or something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now that's better. That's better.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So there's a lot of knowledge,
Uh
and
huh.
I'm basically keeping it at the bare minimum and not getting into full detail. I'm trying to make it as short as possible, but it's all basically a revolving door. Once you get released
Yes.
after not knowing your rights and not gaining knowledge and not gaining any education or
Right.
any trades,
Right.
and you're still stuck at square one, but now you're an adult and you have no choice but to go to the red zone, and it's back to square one where you're
Right.
just waiting for arrest again so you can go back into the system, because now your life is still in shambles and they try to force you into Section 8 or force you into a shelter, and then they force you to get a job, and these jobs are not up to your skills or your educational level or who you are as a person. So it makes you feel lesser than, where you're forced to sell drugs or you're forced to rob people just to feed your family or to get ahead. In school, you won't even be able to afford that.
We do a lot of different shows, but I would say we do a lot of shows that we talk about the criminal injustice system, and I want to say it is so plain. There have been so many people that it's been proved later on, if you can even prove it, but that people who've been incarcerated. Yeah, I think of, the Buffalo Five, John Walker and Darrell Boyd and their friends, that the way they were railroaded, back to what you're talking about, everything, not knowing their rights. You just get people when they're scared, they don't know, and then the plea deals. So I remember when I very first started working on the criminal justice system in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I found that they, like here, we talk about the Soviet Union having a 98 or 97 or 98% conviction rate. That's what we also have, 98
Yes.
or 97% conviction rate. Why is that? Why? Because you it's sort of like, you can't fight City Hall. Well, can you fight the criminal justice system? Mostly not, because of all the fancy footwork, because of all the lies, because of all the missteps that are taken, or lack of accountability that goes on. So people take the plea deal is the recipe, and then, as you said, it seems, when you feel that there's no other choice, that it's just your way of mitigating, making it a less than not the worst, so they try to, present it in such a way, it's like you have to do that or it'll be even worse. But then once you've done that, like you said, that's the road. So it's there's the prison, school to prison pipeline, but then there's the pipeline once you've been arrested, that pipeline, and then, as you so well described it, the way that goes on. And it's not, first of all, even when there's reasons why crime happens, poverty being the major one. And then there's the criminal acts that go by, certainly from our own, I call it the government-sponsored violence. The government-sponsored violence that just perpetuates violence, that just brings more violence into the community, with people, with the police with their guns, and then the poverty that people are experiencing. This is the way. It's not. There's no surprise there. That's the way it functions. So it's a diabolical system that we just have to take apart and change. So I want to go back to, we were talking about Robert Brooks being beaten to death, and the people, the carceral system. So the number of deaths of people who were incarcerated that are just humongous. So there's, we just saw the example of what was his first name? Grady.
Morris.
What is it?
Morris
Grady. So Morris Grady, who they said it was a heart attack, and then when his wife went to take the body,
when she went to
so
identify.
why don't you tell the story, please?
Well, for not to divulge too much information, because she's in litigation.
Right. Okay. Well, just what you think you feel comfortable.
It's the same old story. The Morris Grady, the Messiah Nantuis, the Robert Brooks, and it's not the first time. It's not the last.
No.
Since this happened with the Robert Brooks, there's been over 270 who have died, been murdered, or committed suicide. So they say. I never believed that.
So they say.
Inside the prisons.
Right.
And it's to the fact that they're playing on our intelligence. They think that we don't have the aptitude or the wherewithal to be able to look at a photograph without any medical knowledge and say, oh, that doesn't look like someone died from a stroke or a heart attack or sugar diabetes.
Right.
That looks like just what it is. Somebody got the living daylights beaten unconscious.
Right.
Unconsciously.
Right.
And they've been lying and covering it up and trying to get away with it. Even after the world saw it on camera.
Right.
You still don't want to believe that this is happening?
But the big thing, I just want to say, the world saw it on camera, and they saw that people are, that a man, in the case of Robert Brooks, was being beaten to death. He's barely conscious, if at all, limp, in handcuffs, or
In
yeah,
handcuffs.
in handcuffs, and then people walking around not blinking an eye as he's being beaten to death, not blinking an eye, person
so
after
common.
person after person. If that isn't the biggest thing to indict the system as just how criminal it is, when nobody said, "What are you doing?" Nobody said, "Stop."
Stop.
Nobody said, "What are you doing?"
And why?
And including the boss, their boss, who was there or saw it. So it's just outrageous. And I know that the New York Times just had I can't remember the number. I'm sorry that I meant to check before we did this show, but that anyone, you at home, you can DuckDuckGo it and find the number. But they somewhere between 100 and 200 deaths that had happened in the past year. I think it was. Anyway, there are plenty, and we've just here in Buffalo, in the holding center, there have been, about a death every 6 months. This is people are when they're held, the authorities are responsible for their care and custody and well-being. So, and beside the fact that it's supposed to be helping people to change their lives. Instead, recidivism is rampant. Why? Because the system is criminal in its treatment of people. It's not helping people to change. Some people do anyway, right? But it's just, there's so much trauma going on that people come out worse than they went in.
Yes.
And then, so that it's just...
And it's a revolving door.
It's a revolving door. It's a revolving door. And I want to say, too, that the carceral system and the deportation and detention and deportation
Detainees,
systems
yes.
are one and the same.
Yeah.
So, Sean, please. And actually, so Sean, you were at Marcy when that happened, weren't you?
I was at
Robert-
Marcy for about 2 years, right?
Was it
And
during? Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
to speak on what you were saying too, I went through my notes, right? The day that we went to Albany, and I
Yes.
remember that these words had came out of Eddie Gibbs's mouth. He's a assembly maker, and he complained about facing death threats and being alone in the fight for justice. You remember that, right?
I do remember that. Yes.
And then he said he quit the Committee on Corrections because he feared for his safety because he was getting death threats for advocating for people that are incarcerated, right?
Right.
And then Assemblymaker Donna Levenberg also said the same exact thing, that she feared that something could possibly happen to her. She feared what her bosses would do to her, right?
Right.
And this made me highly upset because it's like, okay, we are free. When I was incarcerated in Marcy, I feared for my life every single day. You know, my job was working in the infirmary. I sat in the infirmary and watched them pummel people almost half to death and drag them by their neck, by their heads, by their clothes into these rooms and continue to beat them.
Jeez.
And most of the times while they were handcuffed, and it'd be 6, 7, 8 officers, sometimes 12 officers beating them half to death. I even got beaten at infirmary. I have a broken finger and a torn Achilles right now from beating me up. And I've worked in that infirmary for almost a year. I was in that prison for almost 2 years. So I've seen plenty of horrors. I've seen people's dreadlocks ripped out of their head, braids ripped out of their head, eyebrows split open, eyes busted open, you know, broken noses, teeth on the floor. I've seen skin. I've seen people get beat so bad that they peed blood and they beat them up even more. Stripped them, maced them 2, 3 times. I've seen it every single day. I used to have to clean up teeth. I used to have to clean up skin, hair, the screams, all that. And it became to the point, it got so bad that it became normal. It was an everyday occurrence that became normal. So it wasn't even like it was bad anymore. It's like they have done this so many times that it's like this has to be normal. So the culture there, that's the norm. Right?
Disgusting.
So The video that I saw of them doing to Robert Brooks Sr., that was nothing. That was a joke compared to what they do on an everyday basis, right? And the cover-ups are commonplace. It's secondhand nature to them. They already know what to do. The nurses know what to do. The staff know what to do. They turn a blind eye. They sign a document, pass it off to this person. That person erases it and fixes it a little bit better, passes it back to them. They sign off on it, and it goes up the chain of command. So it's like, it's not only a couple of bad apples. It's more so the people that want to make a change. They say they fear for their life. What about the people that constantly have to live there? That even though you committed a crime, not the person who you were yesterday. I'm a perfect example of that.
Yes.
I'm a certified recovery peer advocate. I'm about to be a case that going on my way to become an LMSW.
Oh, good. Yay.
Come on.
Yay. I'm an
like-
LMS. Join,
Let them know
thank you, my brother.
you are not the worst the worst day of your life. Let them know, Sean.
I'm an LMSW too. So I'm very grateful, glad and grateful, because your knowledge you need to share, and you can help people a lot, and you already are with this wonderful book, for one thing, and with your testimony right now. And I want to say there is so much that we need to do. We are all responsible for each other, and we are responsible for our system that is functioning in our name with our tax dollars. We are responsible. So there's so much that needs to be done, and really this system is so... Well, from the plantation to the penitentiary, that's where I always go, because it's just they're a very racist and criminal system, and people are not treated right.
The penitentiary is the plantation.
It's
Nothing has
modern
changed.
day slavery.
Right.
It's modern day slavery.
Right, modern day slavery, exactly.
But it's worse. It's worse than modern day slavery. I compared it to a Nazi death camp. That's exactly how I viewed it. That's how I woke up feeling every single day, walking down that walkway and seeing blood on the pavement and seeing vans drive up, screeching their tires and kidnapping people, and you never see them again.
The body
You hear
snatchers.
screams. Exactly. And I witnessed them dragging people down that long walkway by their legs on their face and pummeling them all the way to the infirmary. I've seen these things. So when I feel that anxiety or that trauma on a daily basis, when I'm at work and I need a mental health day because certain people that come in that just came home and I'm helping them and I'm hearing their stories and I'm seeing what they have been through.
Right.
I need certain days because my mind is going back. I even had to take a couple of days off the other day because I was writing my second book about it. And sometimes it can be a lot on the mind.
Of course. So I hope you're doing your deep, slow breathing and whatever else is helping you cope with the trauma. So, the things, the counseling, the sharing, the being, if it's in nature, music, and, beauty, that we need to help us heal, help with the healing, with all the trauma that you've been through. I want to thank, and I want to mention the New York State Jails Justice Network and a friend of the show, Jerome R. Wright, who also has a radio show that he does here at Think Twice Radio, does a beautiful job with that. And I know Donna's a member of that. I think I'm a member of that. Yeah, I know I am.
I'm the part-time administrator of New York State Jails Justice Network.
Okay, good.
Nice fancy
good. I should
title.
have put that. I would have put that in the description.
I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
I'm just me. I
Well,
do what I
know.
have to do.
You do everything you can do.
Yes,
because
I do.
And that's the thing, because we, especially because it's back to truth and love. We know the truth of the matter, and because we love each other, we can't let this go on. So it's got to change. It's got to stop. I want to also call out the Justice Roadmap. Now, this is, there's a part of me that just says, is this putting Band-Aids on a gaping wound or something? Because they're just, it's a series of of different bills that would help in different ways. So, and they're all very reasonable. There's none of them are just let everybody go, which
No.
God knows that it would be. I mean, if we say we want to help people change, this is not the way. It's obvious with the recidivism. It's more than obvious that it is not a system that's helping people. It is
Wasn't
not.
supposed to
And
when
it
it was
wasn't
designed.
yes,
Yeah.
as I always say, the system is working just as designed.
So
However,
Donna,
Yeah.
go ahead.
so I agree with Donna, right? On
Yeah.
the educational piece.
Right.
That is something that is huge
Right.
because once I got tired of witnessing all of these horrors
Yes.
and the abuse and the brutalization, it was the last straw for me when it was a young kid that came to prison. He was like probably 19 years old.
Uh-huh.
I would say about 19, maybe 20 years old.
Uh-huh.
And he was lost, whatever. And me and my friends was like, all right, we're going to help him out. So we basically took him under our wing. We helped him get to school. He didn't really have any family looking out for him. So we gave him food, we gave him clothes. He used to work out with us. He didn't really bother anybody, you know.
Uh-huh.
But to deal with his trauma, he used to smoke cigarettes.
Right.
So he went in the bathroom to smoke a cigarette. This CO was having a bad day. He came in and made an announcement to the dorm when there was people sitting in the dorm area like, hey, I'm having a bad day today. If I catch anybody doing anything stupid, I'm going to kill you. So tell your
What?
buddies. So we
Wow.
that's normal. That's normal. So we went out and we was telling people like, yeah, this guy is not playing. He came in and said he's having a bad day. So everybody's like, no, he's cool. He's cool. I'm like, I don't think he's cool today. So just don't do anything stupid that you're not supposed to do. He's only going to be here for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And the young kid was asleep at the time, so he didn't really know. So he got up, he went to go smoke in the bathroom. And the CO got up, and he went in the bathroom and saw him. He sprayed him down, and he just beat him and beat him and beat him, and he handcuffed him. And then he pulled his pin, and more officers came in, and he beat him and beat him and said that he had a weapon. This kid didn't have a weapon. And they beat him to a pulp, and we never saw him again. But I happened to be standing right there. So he called me as a witness to his hearing. And I went down to his hearing and I said exactly what I saw. That
Right.
kid didn't do anything besides smoke.
Right.
That was it. He didn't have a weapon. He didn't reach for anything. And he put his hands up. He said, all I got is tobacco. And the CO said out of his mouth, I'm having a bad day. I'm going to kill somebody if they mess with me. And at the hearing officer stopped the tape. He deleted everything that I said. And he said, you're going to say refuse to provide a statement.
Wow.
Ugh.
And that's normal. That's
know,
normal.
It's so infuriating. It's so, I mean, illegal is not even the, first of all, it's just so blatantly atrocious. It's heinous, terrible, illegal, totally illegal. First of all, beating somebody is totally illegal. There's no law that says that anybody should get beaten for doing something wrong. There's laws about people should have consequences. Those consequences are not being beaten. What to speak of being badly beaten, what to speak of being bones broken, what to speak of being just the whole heinous thing and all the lying. It's
So then he basically just stopped the tape and he threw out the statement that I made and he told me to go on my way. And the kid basically wrote me through, like, we call it a boomerang. Basically, you write your family member or your friend, whatever.
Yes.
Or you basically act like you're sending out mail, but you put the other person's DIN number. So he put my DIN number to a made up address and it came back to me. And basically was like, what happened? Did you come and represent me?
right.
And I wrote him and told him everything that happened,
Right.
you know? But I never saw that kid again. And I'm like, I wonder what happened to him after that. And then nobody knows, you know? And that right there was like, that was the last straw for me. And then the officer was working my dorm. He came back and he was like, you know, now I'm gonna put a target on your back.
Right.
And then I went to the infirmary and all the officers were kind of just like, mean mugging me and grilling me and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I know at the end of the day that I got a long time to do. I got a parole board coming up, and it's a possibility that I could possibly get killed. So I got to protect myself.
Yes.
So from there, I was like, you know what? I'm quitting. I need a better job. So I quit the infirmary.
Right.
And even though I quit, they kept calling me to come back down there, forcing me to come back down there and clean after I quit. There's no quitting. So I ended up asking a couple of people that I met in the dorm, like, how can I fight this? How can I properly protect myself? It's like, listen, you need to get into law library where everybody else is that understands their rights and how to
Right.
protect themselves. And the first thing you do is call your family and tell them what's going on and have them call up the jail so they could constantly call and let them know that you have family support. So if anything happens to you, they know that something happened.
That's it
So
right there.
I wrote a letter about everything that happened, and I spoke about it over the phone. And I used to hear the phone clicking, and I used to know to listen to the
Oh, of
phone call
course.
line.
Right.
So they knew, like, all right, he's protecting himself.
It's a wonder
already
they
got-
didn't read the mail correspondence that you had going back and forth.
Right.
Exactly. And they do that. They do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But when
Of course
it's
they do.
returned to sender, they don't check it because it's in-house mail. You were still in the facility. So now,
Wow.
when I got to law library, I was in there, and I was helping other people with their cases from cases that stem from my case. Because I basically had conspiracy. And my case, it basically was, it was like a wraparound case that encompassed everything having to do with fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, basically like illegal search and seizures or police that made false statements or did things illegally. And my case is one of the landmark cases that held precedence for um, illegal searches and seizures. So majority of
Oh,
the
good.
cases that I seen in law library, it was the same thing. It was speculation of a crime being committed, and the cops did some illegal activity to get the evidence that they needed to get, and then they worked hand in hand with the DA to railroad a person to take a guilty plea. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And I started doing more digging and started doing research for months, almost for a whole year. And I'm like, everybody that has come in here is labeled from a red zone, has a miscellaneous charge, either having a weapon planted on them or a weapon illegally seized from them, or a case having to deal with the police railroading them or gaining the evidence illegally. And even with the misbehavior reports, I said, wow, this is the same exact thing going on here. They either got the evidence illegally or they went out of their way to railroad the person. And I said, you know what? I'm going to create a brief and I'm going to create a motion and I'm going to create an appeal specifically geared towards this. And all you have to do is sign your name if you fit these three categories right here. So I
Wow.
had a template already created for everything that you could possibly think of, whether it was a parole appeal, whether it was an administrative appeal, or whether it was a criminal appeal, or you wanted to file a civil claim. That's about four. So 4 different templates already made. And all you had to do was sign your name. So I'd be like, tell me a story. Like, Donna, tell me a story. And Donna's like, yeah, I was walking and a cop just came up to me and patted me down. And next thing you know, I was arrested. And I go, wow. So did this happen? Did this happen? This happened? Donna's like, yeah, that happened. I'm all right, just sign your name right here. Put this in an envelope and send it out. And next thing you know, you're going back down to court and they're giving you less time because you knew your rights. You put in a motion to be heard to the courts, and the courts granted it. And next thing you know, you're going back down to court, and that 3 to 9 was turned into a 1 to 3.
What a great service you're doing for the community.
Yes, Lord.
It's so much, well, back to truth and love, so much that you are giving people that they need, because we do have rights. And the thing is that the system is not respecting them or even, allowing them. And so, but what you're doing forces the issue. So it provides the proof and it breaks it down so that people can understand and make it easy for people to do, to make that change, to get that change, because there are some judges who are doing the right thing. I won't say all of them, but there are judges, and the laws, the laws in this country are not being respected by our own government. That is
course
true
not.
at every level of government.
And not only
Yeah.
that, I'm a firm believer that we should be having some type of input in these laws. There are a lot of laws
Right.
that we're advocating for in the books.
Sure.
These laws that they're going to use against us, we should have a say-so in writing up these laws. You
We
know,
do.
But and we should exercise that.
Right.
You can't sit back and complain about this, that, and the other if you're not doing anything to actively circumvent the what's going on.
So one thing I want to mention, and I don't think I mentioned, or at least I haven't stressed it, that jails. I'm sorry, the justice roadmap. So there's a justice roadmap that's been put together, and certainly the New York State Jails Justice Network is advocating for it, as are other groups. CCA, the Center for Community Alternatives, put it together with other lots of lawmakers or some lawmakers have worked on those laws, have put them together that would their elder
Elder parole,
fair
family
and timely parole. Go on,
Marvin Mayfield Act, the
right.
Second Look.
Right.
There's so many. We have the NQI, which I think is a fantastic bill. I don't know why it hasn't been passed, except for they don't want anybody to govern them. And qualified immunity.
And
Right.
That's one of the biggest ones.
Yes.
Yes.
Stop this abuse and beating and
excuseology.
murdering of
Yes.
our citizens and getting
Yes.
away with it. When we do it, we get a life sentence with
Right.
probably no chance of parole. But when they do it, they get, let's sweep this under the rug. Let's make up that's,
Right.
we're sick and tired of that.
Right. No, it's an outrage. It's an outrage. That's why I said the beating of people, that's not legal. And the claim, and then they say, oh, they were fighting back or things like that. No, people, and when it's seen on tape, you see there's no fighting back. That's just an easy lie to tell.
They don't
to
treat
justify.
their animals that way.
Right.
But another human being, you would beat to death. No. No.
That qualified immunity piece,
Yes.
that was one of the biggest hindrances to all of the incarcerated population, myself included. So once you identify the abuses and the lies, and you bring about discovery, right, and you bring about that transparency,
Right.
and you figure out, okay, they have something called a civil conspiracy, that they conspired to do an overt act to basically convict you during your administrative hearing or during your criminal hearing in the courts or at the tier 3 hearings within the prisons, because they're all the same thing. Whether it's a parole board, they're there to convict you. They're there to say, all right, you're a bad person, let's keep this person, or you committed an act years ago and we don't feel like you deserve freedom no matter what you accomplish, right? And all these laws and rules and regulations and policies and procedures are put into place. And once you debunk them and you show that you're a model citizen ready for society, they have another law that's put into place that says, oh, well, freedom isn't guaranteed based off of good behavior and accomplishing all the goals that we told you to achieve. It's still based off of what we believe is right. So now you become judge, jury, and executioner within the courts, within the administrative hearings, and that's not right. And that's something that has been written in history for years. If you go into like the legal research, and you see everything that's going on with these case sites and these case notes, and you see that all of these judges have said the same exact thing. All right, correctional law is basically above us to a certain extent. We only have a certain amount of power if they violate federal laws. And even then, you still have a high burden to carry to prove that what you're saying is correct. They don't care about whose story is better. They care about what the law says, who can tell the law better. And that's a sad thing about it, because there's no transparency with that. The average citizen wouldn't even know what an administrative hearing is or what a discovery motion is,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So trying to explain that to a person with a GED, or if they even have a GED,
Right.
how to file a motion is like talking to a rock. And that's where they get off on. They get off on the fact that your family might not have the education, or you might be low income, or you might not have the common sense to say, okay, I know this is wrong, but the courts won't understand me because they speak a different language. They don't speak what they call ebonics or what they call country slang or slang. They want to hear what the law says. So Donna is 100% right. Education is the key to cracking the code of corrections or the criminal justice system. Once you educate people on the inside and the outside, it becomes something that's mobile, this force, like a battering axe or a ram that pushes this injustice right off the map, because now everybody knows how to fight properly. And that's another reason why I created this book, because it plants a seed in everybody's mind on how to properly defend yourself and fight back from the beginning. From the beginning.
Right.
Yes.
Right. As you say, even before anything happens.
It's empowering.
Even before
yes.
anything happens. And so I just want to say, both of you, really, to both of you, you know, it's so important, the work that you both have been doing. There's so much that needs to be done. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And the rampant injustices that we've seen, the lack of care and concern and compassion, the lack of the government following its own laws. I want to, you know, we talk about Fear Inc., you know, all the efforts to control, intimidate, incarcerate, or even kill. In those areas where the law is manipulated, lied about, or just completely disregarded because it doesn't seem to be important to the very government that is required to uphold it. So all I want to say is this book is wonderful. To Due Process in Chains, people can get it on Amazon by Sean M. Chung. Sean, thank you for all your work with as a peer advocate, certified peer advocate, certified recovery peer advocate, right? And all your work. I mean, your book, your work, your wonderful willingness to do whatever you can to help people. And God knows we need the help. And Donna, same thing. So both of you have done so much good for so many people. I'm very grateful to have you on the show, to have you as friends. And we're so, you know, all I can say is this is Talking Peace. And together we've been talking peace in truth and love. That's it. That's the show.
Right.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Sean.
you, Sean.
Thank you for giving so much honesty and just putting yourself out there, and especially today. So here, wait, stay on the air. Here, just one thing.